Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're focusing on, well, a truly amazing organ, your liver.
It really is remarkable.
We've pulled together some really useful information to help you understand, how it works and, crucially, how to spot those early signs that maybe something's not quite right.
Exactly. Think of it as your shortcut to understanding liver health.
Because the liver does so much behind the scenes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Filtering, producing proteins, helping digestion.
Absolutely. It's a powerhouse.
Mm.
And it's usually pretty quiet about it. That's why we often don't notice issues until they're, well, a bit more serious.
Right. So our goal today is really to help you tune into those more subtle signals early on.
Precisely.
Okay, let's dive in. A big one, maybe the most common one people think of, is fatigue. But we're not just talking about feeling a bit knackered after a long week, are we?
No, not at all. This is different. It's this persistent, almost bone-deep exhaustion, the kind that doesn't really get better, even with rest.
Yeah, I saw the American Liver Foundation calls it debilitating. That sounds serious.
It can be,
Yeah.
and it makes sense biologically. If the liver isn't working properly, it struggles to process nutrients, convert them into energy.
Ah, okay. So the body's just not getting the fuel it needs.
That's part of it. And also think about waste products, like ammonia. A healthy liver deals with that, converts it to urea.
Right.
But if the liver's struggling, ammonia can build up. And that can directly affect the brain, making you feel incredibly tired, foggy even.
Wow, like exhaust fumes backing up, you mentioned?
Kind of, yeah. It's a good analogy.
Okay, so fatigue is one. Another classic sign people might know is jaundice, that yellowing effect.
Yes, the yellowing of the skin, and often noticeably first, the whites of the eyes.
What's actually causing that yellow color?
It's a substance called bilirubin. It's a yellow pigment made when old red blood cells break down. Normally, the liver processes it, gets rid of it in bile.
Like if the liver is damaged.
If it's damaged, it can't process the bilirubin properly, so it builds up in the blood.
And that makes you look yellow.
Exactly. That's jaundice.
Okay, then there's abdominal pain and swelling. Given where the liver is, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Upper right side.
Precisely. If the liver is inflamed or damaged, it can actually swell up. Doctors call it hepatomegaly.
Hepatomegaly, got it.
And that enlarged liver can press on things nearby, causing discomfort or pain.
And the swelling isn't always just the liver itself, right? It can be fluid.
That's right. Swelling can also be from fluid accumulating in the abdomen. That's called ascites. It happens because of increased pressure in the blood vessels around the liver, often related to scarring.
Okay, ascites. So pain from the liver itself or swelling from fluid buildup.
Both are possibilities, yeah.
And we shouldn't forget about changes in, well, urine and stool.
Definitely important clues. If your urine starts looking really dark, like tea-colored or dark brown,
That could be a sign.
it could.
Uh,
It suggests excess bilirubin is being flushed out by the kidneys because the liver isn't handling it.
and the opposite for stool, pale.
Exactly. Pale, clay-colored stools can mean there's a lack of bile getting into the intestines. Bile gives stool its normal brown color, so if the flow is blocked or reduced,
The color changes. Makes sense.
it all connects back to liver function.
Okay, so those are some key early or maybe not so early signs. What about things that might show up as liver issues progress? Easy bruising or bleeding?
Yes, that's a significant one. It links back to the liver's protein production role.
Not just albumin, but clotting factors too.
Precisely. The liver makes most of the proteins your body needs to form blood clots. If it's damaged, it can't produce enough.
So even small bumps cause big bruises, or cuts bleed longer.
That's exactly what can happen. More nosebleeds, bleeding gums when you brush your teeth, that sort of thing.
Right. Another really unpleasant one is itching. Pruritus, is that the term?
Yes, pruritus, it can be incredibly bothersome for people.
And we don't know exactly why it happens.
Well, the leading theory is that it's related to bile salts. If the liver isn't processing bile properly, these salts can build up in the bloodstream and get deposited in the skin.
And that irritates the nerves, causes the itching.
That's the idea. It can be quite intense, sometimes all over the body, and often worse at night, really disrupting sleep.
Ugh, sounds awful. And then in really advanced stages, there's the risk of mental confusion, hepatic encephalopathy.
Yes, and this is a very serious complication. It happens when the liver is so damaged it can no longer filter toxins effectively from the blood.
So those toxins reach the brain.
Correct. And they interfere with brain function. Symptoms can range from mild confusion, maybe memory problems, difficulty concentrating.
To more severe things.
Yes, unfortunately. Personality changes, slurred speech, muscle tremors, even severe drowsiness, or coma in the worst cases. It needs immediate medical attention.
Definitely sounds like it. It really underscores why catching things early is so important.
Absolutely. Because the liver is resilient.
Mm.
It has this amazing ability to regenerate.
Yeah, like that quote from Dr. Bernstein, calling it a superhero in your body.
It's a good way to put it. If you catch damage early, you can often stop it, maybe even reverse some of it and prevent things from getting to that severe stage.
Which is why knowing these signs is so powerful.
Exactly. Knowledge is power here.
Okay, so for you listening, you might be thinking, right, I've got all that, but what about, let's tackle some common questions people have. First up, just to recap, what are those key symptoms again?
Okay, the main ones to keep in mind are that really persistent fatigue, like deep tiredness, jaundice, the yellow skin or eyes, unexplained itching, bruising or bleeding easily, swelling, especially in the legs or belly, and those changes, dark urine or pale stool.
And crucially, sometimes there are no symptoms early on.
That's a vital point,
Mm.
especially with things like fatty liver disease. You might feel perfectly fine in the early stages, so knowing your risks is also important.
Right. So if someone does have symptoms or maybe risk factors, how do doctors figure out if there's liver damage? What's the diagnosis process?
It usually starts with blood tests, liver function tests, or LFTs. They measure enzymes and proteins that show how well the liver's working.
Okay.
Then imaging might be used. Ultrasound is common, maybe a CT scan or an MRI. These let doctors actually see the liver, check its size, shape, look for anything unusual.
Like tumors or fat buildup.
Exactly. There's also a special type of ultrasound called fibroscan. It measures liver stiffness
Stiffness. Why does that matter?
because scarring, or fibrosis, makes the liver stiffer. So fibroscan can help assess the degree of scarring without needing a biopsy straight away.
But sometimes a biopsy is needed, taking a small sample.
Yes, in some situations, a liver biopsy is the gold standard to get a really clear picture of what's happening at a cellular level.
Okay, so blood tests, imaging, maybe FibroScan, possibly a biopsy.
That covers the main diagnostic tools, yes.
Now, what actually causes liver damage? We've touched on a few things.
Yeah, there are quite a few potential culprits. Alcohol is a big one. Drinking too much over time can lead to fatty liver, then inflammation, alcoholic hepatitis, and finally cirrhosis, which is severe scarring.
Okay, alcohol.
Viral hepatitis is major. Hepatitis A, B, and C.
How do you get those? Are they different?
They are. Hep A is usually from contaminated food or water, think fecal-oral route.
Right.
Hep B and C are typically spread through infected blood or bodily fluids. So sharing needles, unprotected sex, that kind of thing.
Got it. And you mentioned fatty liver disease not related to alcohol.
Yes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, is becoming really common, often linked with obesity, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, basically metabolic health issues.
So lifestyle factors play a big role there.
A huge role. Then some medications can cause trouble, even over-the-counter ones if used incorrectly, and certain supplements too.
We'll come back to those specifics later. Anything else?
Autoimmune diseases. Sometimes the body's own immune system mistakenly attacks the liver.
Okay, quite a list. Alcohol, viruses, fatty liver, meds, autoimmune issues.
That covers the main categories, yeah.
A really crucial question then. Is liver damage reversible?
Ah, the million-dollar question. It really depends on the cause and, importantly, the stage.
So, early on.
Yes. If it's caught early, like simple fatty liver or mild inflammation, and you address the cause, stop drinking, lose weight, manage diabetes, then yes, the damage can often be reversed. The liver can heal itself.
But that's the regeneration kicking in.
Exactly. But once significant scarring, fibrosis develops and progresses to cirrhosis, well, that scarring is generally considered permanent. You can't really undo it.
You can stop it getting worse.
Absolutely. The goal then becomes halting the progression, managing the complications, and treating the underlying cause if possible. So early diagnosis is still vital even if reversal isn't fully possible.
Makes sense. What about contagiousness? We know viruses are involved.
Right, so hepatitis A, B, and C are contagious, spread in those ways we mentioned: contaminated food water for A, blood-body fluids for B and C.
But the other causes aren't. Like, you can't catch fatty liver disease or alcoholic cirrhosis from someone.
Correct. Those are related to individual factors like diet, lifestyle, alcohol intake, or genetics. They aren't infectious.
Good distinction. Let's circle back to alcohol quickly. We know it's bad, but how exactly does it damage the liver?
Well, processing alcohol creates harmful byproducts that can damage liver cells directly. Over time, this leads first to fat buildup fatty liver.
Which can happen relatively quickly.
Yes, even after short periods of heavy drinking. If drinking continues, it can progress to inflammation, alcoholic hepatitis. And then the most severe stage is cirrhosis, where healthy tissue is replaced by scar tissue.
And that scar tissue doesn't work like normal liver tissue.
No, it obstructs blood flow and impairs all those vital liver functions. And it's important to stress there isn't really a proven safe amount of alcohol for the liver. Risk increases with amount and duration.
Okay. So limiting or avoiding alcohol is key. What about diet? Is there a specific liver diet?
Not really one single prescribed diet, but general healthy eating principles are definitely beneficial for the liver. Lots of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins,
The usual suspects for good health.
pretty much. And limiting the bad stuff, saturated fats, added sugars, lots of salt. Definitely avoid processed foods as much as possible,
And alcohol, obviously.
obviously. Staying hydrated is important too, plenty of water. And if you're overweight, losing weight gradually can make a huge difference for fatty liver disease.
Quite gradually.
Very rapid weight loss can sometimes, paradoxically, put stress on the liver. So slow and steady is usually the best approach.
Good tip. Now, medications. You mentioned some can be harmful. Which ones should people be particularly aware of?
Paracetamol, or acetaminophen, is a big one. It's in loads of cold and flu remedies and painkillers. It's safe at the right dose, but taking too much, or taking it with alcohol, can cause serious liver damage.
Okay, so follow the dosage instructions carefully.
Absolutely critical. Some antibiotics have been linked to liver issues, also statins for cholesterol, though the benefit usually outweighs the risk there, under medical supervision, of course.
And supplements. People often think natural means safe.
Not necessarily for the liver. Some herbal supplements like kava, comfrey, even high doses of green tea extract have been associated with liver injury in some cases.
Wow, even green tea extract.
In very high concentrations, yes. The message is always tell your doctor about everything you're taking, including supplements and herbal remedies.
Good advice. So bringing it all together, when should someone definitely think, okay, I need to see a doctor about this? What are the real red flags?
I'd say definitely see a doctor if you notice that yellowing, jaundice, or if you have persistent fatigue that's really unusual for you, persistent nausea, maybe unexplained weight loss.
Abdominal pain or swelling, too.
Yes, especially if it's new or persistent. And those changes consistently dark urine or pale stools. Don't ignore those.
Because early diagnosis makes a real difference.
Huge difference. Better outcomes, more treatment options, chance of preventing serious long-term damage. If you're worried, get checked out.
Okay. Finally, let's end on a positive, proactive note. What can we all do, starting today, to protect our livers? Keep them healthy.
Right. Prevention is key. Number one, as we've said, limit or avoid alcohol. That's probably the single biggest impact for many people.
Makes sense.
Get vaccinated against hepatitis A and B if you haven't been and might be at risk. Practice safe sex. Don't share needles or personal items like razors or toothbrushes. That helps prevent Hep B and C.
Basic hygiene and safety.
Exactly. Eat that balanced diet we talked about. Fruits, veggies, whole grains, lean protein. Stay active. Maintain a healthy weight.
Avoid unnecessary meds and supplements.
Yes, be cautious. Only take what you need. Follow dosages. Talk to your doctor. Drink plenty of water. Manage your weight.
It sounds like a lot of it comes down to general healthy living.
It really does. What's good for your overall health is generally good for your liver, too.
So it's this incredible, hardworking organ. Understanding it, listening for those potential whispers of trouble, and taking those proactive steps. It's all crucial for looking after it.
Absolutely. Don't take your liver for granted. Be proactive about its health.
Great advice. Thanks for walking us through all that today. That brings us to the end of this deep dive.